Cool beans. How you doing, guys? I'm the Bearded Devil, and welcome to my channel. We're going to continue doing the vegan Dingleberry series on, in particular, this video. Hopefully, I'm going to cover the rest of kind of the vegan health tropes. Now, last time we talked, I covered, the vegan trope that humans are herbivores. Obviously, we're not. Not every vegan believes this, so hashtag not all, but there are some that actually do, which I think is strange. Anyway, also kind of once I got that out of the way, I wanted to take a moment to kind of emphasize some of the other tropes that are used more as scare tactics. They really are. They're presented in such a way that it is supposed to be like, you're gonna die if you eat meat. You're gonna die. It's guaranteed you're gonna die. Blah blah. Only that's really not the case. So we're gonna kind of go over that. All right. Give me a quick second. Let me screen share. Alrighty. Now, we've already found out that basically the medical community and the scientific community don't even know what causes atherosclerosis. They have theories, but they know exactly why it happens in humans. Okay? Once you know that, then the whole cholesterol is murder thing, you're killing yourself with cholesterol, blah, blah. They're not exactly entirely sure that's really what's happening. Anyway, we'll go beyond that. All right. All right. Let's honestly look at what people are dying from. Or for that matter, how many people are dying. Now, I pulled these numbers from the CDC. So if you're ever curious, you can just go to the CDC and look it up for yourself. Okay. Now, these numbers are for 2016. I don't have numbers for 2017 yet, but thus far, this is the most updated we have. All right, the U.S. population for 2016 was 324,118,787 people. All right, number of deaths that occurred in 2016, 2,626,418. Okay, now I know you heard, I just said millions, right? So you hear big numbers, okay? They're both big numbers. Holy shit, big fucking numbers. Well, that 2.6 million is 0.81% of the total population of the United States. All right. That means that less than 1% of the population died. All right. That is remarkable if you think about it. That we had such a low percentage of death. All right. Now that 2.6 million, that means that includes all deaths. Okay. The CDC gives 10 of the major causes of death, and of course, heart-related deaths are at the top with the largest number. Now, heart-related deaths or deaths from heart disease, and that's another thing. Vegans like to point out that 24% of the deaths, that 24% of the reasons people die is because of heart disease. All right. Sometimes they'll word it in such a way where it sounds like 24% of the population dies from heart disease, but that's not really the case. Okay. As it turns out, it's just that yes, 24% of heart-related deaths, 24% of deaths are associated with heart disease. Now, for a vegan, vegans like to push that atherosclerosis is heart disease. full stop. You know, they use it interchangeably. They want to sit there and say it's synonymous. It's you know, heart disease equals atherosclerosis, and atherosclerosis equals heart disease. Atherosclerosis is a type of heart disease. Okay, it is not the only heart disease. Okay, so there has to be a distinction. All right. Now, real quick, here's the thing. There's a distinction between sudden cardiac death and what you call it, the coronary artery disease. Okay, atherosclerosis. All right. If you read here, sudden cardiac death is the largest cause of natural death in the United States, causing about 325,000 adult deaths in the United States. It is responsible for half of all heart disease deaths. Okay, so this number right here, you can technically knock out 325,000 if we're talking about atherosclerosis. All right, again, heart disease does not equal atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is a type. All right. Now, it says right here, sudden cardiac arrest is not a heart attack. Okay, heart attacks occur when there's blockage of one or more coronary arteries, preventing the heart from receiving enough oxygen-rich blood, and so on and so forth. It's damaging the heart itself. All right. Now, it says right here, in contrast, sudden cardiac arrest occurs when the electrical system of the heart malfunctions and suddenly becomes irregular. All right, heart beats dangerously fast, the ventricles may flutter, the ventricular fibrillation, blah, blah, blah. Say that 5 times fast. Blood is not delivered to the body, and within a few minutes, great concern for the blood flow to the brain. So basically, you're starving your brain from your heart just more or less stops. Okay, so that leads to your brain dying. Heart attacks lead to your heart dying, which can, of course, lead to your brain dying. So there is a distinction between sudden cardiac death and a heart attack. Sudden cardiac deaths are responsible. So in essence, atherosclerosis is not the number one killer. Okay? That trope, gone. All right? Period. Point blank done. All right? Here's the thing. Now within sudden cardiac death, yes, atherosclerosis or coronary artery disease can play a factor, but it is not the actual cause of death. All right? It can exacerbate the problem. But again, even within that, within sudden cardiac arrest, sudden cardiac death, there are other mitigating circumstances. You can have a completely healthy, you can be completely devoid of cardiac disease, coronary disease, and still die of sudden cardiac death. All right, and vice versa. You know, just because you died of, just because you had a heart attack, you can die from a heart attack, but you can also live. And there's a lot of people that have heart attacks and live. You know, with proper medical aid, you can live through a sudden cardiac arrest, which is why they have like defibrillators and things like that. That's to jumpstart your heart again. Okay, well, it's actually to stop your heart, and then that actual stopping is kind of like re-jolts your heart to beat properly. Okay, that's basically kind of like, you know, jump starting you back up again. Now, with So if we remove sudden cardiac death from that 633,000, then it reduces. You can bear that down, and then you sub what's left over. You sit there and take apart like what else is involved with that can cause you to die. All right, that reduces the number even further. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're going to go ahead and follow the vegan trope. We're going to say that heart-related deaths equals, atherosclerosis. We'll just go ahead and use that vegan trope. But I'm still going to illustrate what that means. Now, of heart-related deaths, they do account for 24% of total deaths, but it's only 0.2% of the total population of the United States. Think that through for a second. 0.2% of the population died from heart-related deaths. That means that 99.8% of the total population in the United States didn't die of heart disease. But vegans would have you make you think that you're guaranteed, damn near. They focus on, they repeat 24%, 24%, sometimes 25%. Sometimes they'll just sit there and say a quarter. And they make it seem as if the 24% of the population is dying from this shit. And it's not. It's infinitesimal. This number right here, 0.2%, is technically infinitesimal. It is, comparatively speaking, it's a very, very small percentage of deaths. And in the United States, that makes sense because we have access, to advanced medicine. We have all of this, technological advances that keep us alive longer. Even our food, even though in some cases it can be crappy, it's still better fare in some developing countries. And these numbers kind of bear out in a lot of the Western cultures. Okay, they typically hover around the same relative percentages. So 0.2%, 1/5 of 1% of the total population in the United States died from heart-related deaths. That is infinitesimal. Okay, and now if I could just stop there and sit there and, okay, hey, look, all of these people are not, not everybody is dying in such a way that it's not the giant scary boogeyman that vegans want to portray it as. Okay, but we're going to break it down even further. All right, the number of all deaths, total deaths. All right, the highest category of deaths are in the highest category of age, in age. All right, the 85 plus age group. All right, that accounts for 68. It's 1,358,737. That accounts for 68.2% total deaths. Okay, over 2/3. 2/3. All right, of deaths are in the top age group. Okay, I want to give you a visual. All right. Too soon. Okay. Each little person icon right here is 1 million people. Right down here at the bottom. Now, I rounded up because the 2.6 million, I had to round up, because you can't really get half a person, right? Or a percentage of a person. But anyway, same here. I just went ahead and just took the numbers. So this many people represent how many, this right here, 3 right here, represents how many people died, period. Period. That's how many people died. All right. Lived, died. 2016. Of these, you know, 3 little guys, whatever, of this percentage of the population, the most that died were old people. 2/3, over 2/3, were people of advanced age. You know, we're not talking a bunch of youngins. We're talking about old people. All right. Does this shock you? Does it shock you that, I mean, if you find out that somebody who's in their 90s or in their late 80s or whatever, you find out that they died, you don't go, oh my God, what a tragedy. You go, it was their time. It was probably their time. All right. And if they're dying of what the fuck ever, you still go, well, that's a little, you know, they lived a long life. Yada, yada, yada. So, okay. Then that still goes on to, you're still, you know, 2/3 of all deaths, advanced age. All right. 85 plus, 85 to whatever, you know, 100, whatever. So that possible 15, yeah, I don't give a shit if you're last. Anyway, how you doing, Race? So if 68.2% of total deaths are for old people, and it's not a surprise that old people die, then it shouldn't surprise you that the number of heart-related deaths, I'm doing all right. Still kind of getting over pneumonia. The number of heart-related deaths also are in the 85 plus. The majority of the heart-related deaths are in the 85-year-old plus age group. Now, with that, I mean, think about it. It again it's not a surprise. It's also 2/3, well, close to 2/3 of the total heart-related deaths. And it carries over to 15%, 15.1% of all deaths. All right. So, I mean, I could, again, stop there and say that, look, it is not a shock, not one little bit, that old people take up the majority of deaths. It's not a shock that the majority of people who die of heart disease are in their advanced ages. It's not, you're not going to sit there and go, oh gosh darn, what a tragedy, holy shit, oh my God, I never would have seen that. You're going to go, that makes sense. Okay, so the vegan trope that, oh my God, so many people are dying of heart disease. Well, it turns out that no, so many people are not. When you compare to the rest of the population, not that many people are dying. Like I said, 0.2% of the population. And even when you cover, you know, who all is dying, it turns out it's just old people. Okay. And again, you can sit there and look at heart-related deaths. Well, the number of deaths below 65. These are numbers I pulled a while back. Right? So you know what I'm talking about. Yes, what heart disease? When you say heart disease, what are you saying? Okay, because heart disease, no, the most is not a lot. Okay, when you look at the comparison, when you look at the hard numbers, all right, I'll show you. You missed it, but I'll go ahead and show you. All right. 2016. Each person, each one of these little person icons represents 1 million people. Right? This is how many people lived. This is how many people died. Okay? Of this many people that died, of all the reasons, old people. 2/3 of that number were old, advanced age. We're talking 85 plus. I'm not talking about, you know, 84 and below. I'm talking about the 85 plus group. The oldest age group has the most amount of deaths. All right. Same thing. If you break it down to heart-related deaths, Old people constitute close to 2/3 of the total heart-related deaths. Okay. So when you say it's the most, yes, it is fair, because I'm not comparing one thing or another. I'm bearing the numbers out. These are the numbers. Okay. You can't really, I'm not comparing one thing against all other things, which is like when you say that heart disease is the number one killer. Which heart disease is the number one killer? Which heart disease is the cause of death? Okay. Because coronary artery disease is not the leading cause of death. You don't always die from it, and the numbers don't bear out. The leading cause of death is sudden cardiac death. Okay. Sudden, again, I've already gone over that. All right. Now, having a heart attack can exacerbate the probability of you dying from sudden cardiac death. So the onset can, heart attacks can be a catalyst, but they're not the actual cause of death. All right. The actual cause of death, the most, 325,000 people die from sudden cardiac death. Okay. And within that 325,000, it's a myriad of possible causes for sudden cardiac death. Okay. Like you had a disease, you have a precursor, and then that's what causes it. And it goes, congenital heart defects, enlarged heart, some, heart failure. Heart failure heart failure is different from sudden cardiac death, because heart failure just means your heart is weakening, and over time your heart will weaken. Okay, that's just how that works. That's how your body is weakening. And again, still falls under the people who die the most from heart-related deaths are in the most advanced age. Okay. These numbers are I went to the CDC and pulled up causes of death, and then went to each side. They have tons of charts. You have to sit there and go through the charts. You have to do some math. It's not really difficult, but it takes time. So I went through and did all that. That's where all these numbers came from. This is completely unbiased. This is when I put forth this information. It's not in any. Well, I'm biased. Me personally, I'm biased, but I'm not fudging anything here. Okay. Anyone can look it up. All right. So I'm not comparing apples and oranges. I'm comparing apples and apples. Now, so in all honesty, the whole atherosclerosis is the number one killer. It's one of those. It's a half truth. It doesn't mean that that's precise. Okay, because it wasn't initially the cause. That wasn't what killed the person. All right, sudden cardiac death is, and you can again look that up. Just look up sudden cardiac death. I'll get to the whole needless crap later on. Right now, I already said that I'm covering each trope as they go. I'm starting with all the health tropes, and then I'll move on to the environmental tropes, and then I'll move into the moral tropes. Okay, I'll go through each one. This one right here is I'm still on the health. All right. So that's pretty much where we are right now. Okay, so what you want is irrelevant to this particular situation. All right. Next trope. All right. The vegans will sit there and say, red meat causes cancer. You eat meat, you're going to die of cancer. You're gonna die. If you eat meat, you're gonna die of cancer. And they point to the announcement of the World Health Organization as far as what they're saying that the classifications. When you have processed meats are category 1, and then red meats are category 2. And the thing is like, where is it? And I'm telling you, is again unbiased. I'm right here. World Health Organization. Why don't you? Can't control the narrative. Because basically, if you want to sit there and think about this, all this information I'm putting out, you can almost consider it an opening salvo to a debate. Okay, this is just a very long-winded opening salvo. All right. Because what I want to do is I want to take all of the tropes off the table. All right. Yes, I know what, and vegans say vegans point to the World Health Organization, but here's the thing. All right, I'll go ahead and find it. These are again. Here's a trope right here. Processed meat is classified as carcinogenic to humans, group 1. Tobacco smoking is also group 1. Does that mean consumption of processed meat is as carcinogenic as smoking? Tobacco smoking, asbestos? Short answer, no. So all the whole comparing eating meat to smoking, go fuck yourself. Ta-da! Says right here, does not mean they're equally dangerous. Okay. What? Yeah, so the whole like, you're gonna get cancer, it's just like smoking, eating meat is smoking, is bullshit. And yes, there are vegans that say eating meat is smoking, or some shit like that. Now, where was that other one? Ah, yes, eating red meat. Well, I just want to read, just right here. Eating red meat has not yet been established as a cause of cancer. Just let that hang in the air for a moment. All right. Now that means as far as they're putting it out there, they don't have enough evidence. All right. It says right there, if it's because getting stabbed with a note isn't equal to getting shot, then you don't mind being stabbed. What? I don't understand that. Where are you getting that from? But so because I don't understand what the fuck that. So because getting stabbed with a knife isn't equal to getting shot, then you don't mind being stabbed. I don't understand the association. But okay. If you're having an argument in your head, go ahead. Just flesh that out. All right. So they're saying that they haven't proven that that red meat causes cancer. What they're doing is that they put a kind of a precautionary note. All it is when they put it up in a group is it's a precautionary note. I'll go ahead and tell you right now. According to the what's it called? The IARC. Other category 2 carcinogens, for lack of a better term, are shift work, fireplaces, and what was the other one? It was a weird one. That was another one I can't remember. Yeah, it's work. It's like working. You can get cancer from working late at night. Is a category 2 or category 2A. And then they got like category 2B, which is like pickled vegetables, hot beverages, wine. These things. These are all apparently carcinogenic in one form or another. But it's not. They're not saying it's carcinogenic. What they're saying is that there's evidence that it could possibly, maybe. I just think it's funny that in all actuality, you think about it. If you're lack of your head's fault. Okay. Unshaved devil. Well, technically you're right. The beard is quite large because I don't shave my beard. I don't shave my nutsack either. So where are we going with this? But basically, yeah. So the whole meat causes cancer, guaranteed or whatever percentage chance, blah blah. Bullshit. The whole cholesterol causes atherosclerosis. Bullshit. People die. The atherosclerosis is the #1 killer. Bullshit. So you see where this goes, right? I'm basically taking each one of these tropes, each one of these arguments, and we're getting rid of them. We're putting them right off the table because it's all bullshit. All right. What's next? The health well, a lot of vegans in particular, will sit there and go bang. The position of they'll bring up the American Dietetic Association's position on vegan and vegetarian diets. Now, the thing is by pointing to this, and you'll notice that they sit there and emphasize the need for proper planning and, of course, proper supplementation. Okay. They keep saying this. All right. If you have to make sure that you're within all these guidelines to avoid any kind of health issues. All right. Oh, I'm going to debate. Don't worry. I've already said I will announce when I will be debating vegans. I will, and I play fair, and I want vegans to play fair as well, which is why, once again, I'm taking all of these tropes and taking them off the table. All of these narratives, they are being removed from the table. So if a vegan sits there and during debate, the debate brings up atherosclerosis, it's off the table. They sit there and say we're not omnivores, off the table. Sit there and say that but not all diets require supplementation. So if you want to sit there and see, the vegan diet, even the vegetarian diet, requires supplementation. Okay? A human being can live their entire life without ever eating anything that's fortified, without ever eating anything that is enriched. Okay. Yes, I did. Okay, you're going to sit there and argue with the facts? You're going to sit there and argue against what I just said? Is anything that I've shown incorrect? Because if it's not incorrect, then you can't fall back on that. Some vegans take no supplements. Okay. How are they getting their B12? Yes, the most that would be recommended as a precaution. It's not just B12. Okay. There are other, they sit there and eating a diet that has fortified foods and enriched foods. That's still supplementation. You can tap dance all you want around it. That's still supplementation. Yes, in the standard American diet, in a lot of foods, yes, you can find enriched flour, you can find fortified cereals, and those two are the ones that carry the most fortification. Okay. But there's the whole thing. B12, it's not just B12. It's not just B12. It's all of them. That's They have it right here, man. You know? Yes. Can you find things? I just said that the standard American diet, they have 4 to 5 foods. If you do not follow the standard American diet, say if you decide that you want to have a whole foods diet, you want to avoid enriched foods, you want to you can achieve getting all of your nutrients, all of your macronutrients, all of your micronutrients, all these various minerals. There are also ways to get that if you know what you're doing. I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, no, there really isn't. That's not gonna give you B12, man. You're gonna eat dirt? I mean, you could probably eat dirt. Are you gonna do that? No, you're not gonna eat dirt? Oh, what about manure? Manure. Shit. Shit is chock full of B12. Are you gonna eat shit? No? Okay then. Sitting there saying, because I'm gonna tell you, you have to also measure the health risks involved in eating these dirty food. Okay? It's not just B12 that could be contained in it. All right. It is also, it could contain parasites. It could contain harmful bacteria. Yes, that's irrelevant. Once again, that's irrelevant. Sitting there saying how many meat eaters are B12 deficient. I'll go ahead and say it. Yes, meat's chock full of shit. Where do you go from there? Hmm? You're gonna sit there and say, Judge, it's just full of shit. Because what? Because salmonella happens? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Root vegetables do not contain B12. And the dirt, the bacteria that are in or that are on the root vegetables or whatever, that is not going to give you B12 either. Because human beings cannot take the bacteria. We can't take that bacteria into our bodies, into our stomach, and have the bacteria manufacture the B12. Oh, you're gonna say proper vegan, dude? You can gonna sit here and do the whole no true Scotsman thing. That doesn't work either. Okay, you want to sit here and you can cry about it all you want, but you can't ignore physiology. All right, a human being without modern supplementation can live on meat and vegetation. That's one of the things that vegans seem to think that I don't understand. Most vegans don't start out as vegans. Y'all start out eating meat and animal products. So sitting here saying, well, did you die? Did you die before you became a vegan? No, you didn't. If you, and the whole thing, like, oh, well, vegans feel so fantastic once they stop eating meat. Well, no, they once they start eating healthier, diverge from the standard American diet or standard Western diet, however you want to put it up. Yes, that's right. Me sitting there showing facts and figures is me crying. I'm sorry. Gosh. Heaven forbid facts and figures matter, right? Heaven forbid that biology trumps your feelings. Heaven forbid that science tells you to go fuck yourself with your vegan tropes. I'm sorry. Whoops. I don't feel bad about that at all. Now, back back to the position of the American Dietetic Association, which they now have they changed their name, stating that, yeah, you could throughout history, dude, don't even start that shit with me with the whole they didn't eat animals. If you want to sit there and talk about that, they were vegetarians. There is no history of vegans, period, outside of what, the one or two you're going to sit there and say? Pythagoras, though? Pythagoras was a nut job. Oh, actually, you can seriously just look it up, in all honesty. B12 is manufactured for like ruminants. It's in their foregut fermenters. Okay, so in there they have the chambers. They have the four chambered stomachs. They actually have a chamber specifically for processing vegetation to extract, for the bacteria to extract things like to create B12. The thing about that is there has to be a sufficient amount of cobalt in order for that to happen, which is why in the animal industry they saying that it's a class 1 carcinogen says that they have a strong association between eating processed meats and cancer. It does not mean it causes the cancer. The meat itself causes the cancer, because within processed meat there is a variety of chemicals that are put into it as preservation. Yes, B12 is in mammals, including humans. So yeah, technically, if you eat a person, you'll get B12. What's your point? Yes, the bacteria is what is producing it, not the person and not the animal. Okay? Every animal on this planet pretty much needs B12. And yes, that's correct. We cannot digest B12, or we can't digest our own B12 because it happens in our lower intestine, and it's in our the absorption is supposed to be done in your small intestine. Okay. It's from animals, right? That you can't, the stuff that's in the soil, there's no the B12 isn't really in the soil. The bacteria is in the soil. Okay. That is the fundamental difference. The bacteria that produce the B12 is in the soil. Now, if you obtain soil that's, say, from like an animal farm or something like that, that's rich with feces, then you might be able to, if you eat manure, say for instance, if you ate manure, you would get B12 because the B12 is actually in the manure. Same thing if you ate your own shit. That's another thing. Like for B12, B12 is found throughout the flesh of animals, including yourself. It's found throughout your body. There are more concentrations in the organs than there are in the muscle tissue. Now, and there's no, plants don't make it. Okay, technically we're not making it. Actually, the debate is over if we absorb B12 in the intestines, to be fair. If we did, but we don't. We don't actually absorb it in our intestine or in our lower intestines where it's produced. Now, for animals that are like, that's why that's why like ruminants are able to absorb it, because it passes through their small intestine. Then you have animals like gorillas and whatnot that are hindgut fermenters, and they're able to extract it there because that's where their primary. It does not have a 4-year supply. Okay, that is an absolute bullshit. Okay, B12 has a half-life of 6 days. Right, it has a half-life of 6 days. B12 in the body has a 400-day half-life. Okay, so no, it does not have you don't have a 4-year supply. Okay, all right. That's just whatever. All right. And the B12 is still being, I mean, it's obviously being used, so there's no stagnation. We may not know everything about it yet, but we know so far they already know the mechanisms. They already know what produces it, or else they wouldn't be able to reproduce it in a laboratory. They wouldn't be able to sit there and feed the same bacteria that produce B12. They wouldn't be able to feed it, They wouldn't be able to feed it, I think it's like maple syrup. They feed it sugars. And it takes the sugars, and obviously they have to put cobalt in there somewhere. And it sits there and turns around, and the byproduct, the shit of the bacteria, that's the whole thing. B12 is just bacteria shit. If you really want to look at it, it's just bacteria shit. Okay. So we're eating the shit from bacteria. Now, with the ruminants. Oh yeah, also like animals like rabbits that have I can't remember the name of the actual organ, but that specifically like rabbits and types of animals and species of like rabbits, they get a good portion of their B12 from their own shit. They actually have two kinds of shit. They have hard shit, which is just devoid, it's just shit. Okay, it's devoid of B12. And they have a soft shit. They actually are able to it's like a fucking vending machine for them. They actually have a softer shit that contains the B12. No, I won't be destroyed. And I haven't lied once, dude. So go ahead. You can sit there and say, I'm lying a lot. I haven't lied a bit. Not one lie has escaped my lips. You can look any of this shit up and just go, oh, well, he wasn't lying about that. Why? Because you see the visual evidence. I'm not making it up. You can look it up for your fucking self. I'm doing some of the legwork right now, so go fuck yourself. Okay. Now, anyway, back to the American Dietetic Association announcement, and that's it. It's a PSA. It's saying, hey, it's possible to be a vegan or a vegetarian with proper supplementation, all that kind of jazz, to live throughout your entire life in that way. Okay, the only thing is, and I can pull it up, but there's not a lot of evidence. There's not a lot of evidence that for lifelong vegans, cradle to the grave. Okay. Logan's already hit me up, and I already told him, and I told everybody else. Once I'm done with this series, it's going to be a few more videos. I'm gonna tackle the environmental tropes, and again, I'm going to tackle the morality tropes. It's okay to grow whole animals and supplement, but we can't just grow the bacteria to get it. We do grow the bacteria. I've already said this. I've never said otherwise. Okay. And it also is dependent on what kind of B12 we're talking about. You know that there are B12 analogs produced by certain bacteria that inhibit the B12 that's supposed to be you're actually supposed to, the actual B12, it inhibits absorption of B12. I don't need to look, your arguments are wrong. No, they haven't been. You haven't debunked shit. Where have you debunked a single thing I've said? You haven't. You've just said, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. That's not saying you're debunking anything. I can show you. Okay. They present a different argument. Where are you going with this? I'm not actually by the way, I'm not this right here, this me talking about the tropes, that's not presenting an argument. Why kill? Because they only need to grow the bacteria. Because we can eat the animals that have the bacteria naturally and not have to go through the process of synthesizing it. Do you really want to go there? See, when you say why kill, and you're going into the morality thing. I'm not talking about morality. I'm talking about the health tropes. I'll get to the morality. I'll get to the whys. Okay? Don't worry. I'll get there. Once again, back to this statement. This is half a statement. This right here, this whole blurb right here, this whole position is simply half. No, I'm not. I haven't twisted shit yet. You just don't like what I'm telling you. That's the difference. You can bitch, moan, and gripe, stomp your feet, but I haven't lied, and I haven't shown anything dishonest. And that must just piss you the fuck off. Okay, the other side of this. Synthesizing. I'm not saying that it is synthetic. Okay, they're going through an artificial process. This is not done in nature. And I'm not sitting there, no, it's not. I'm not saying that it's better if it's natural. Nah. But by sitting here saying that it's a man-made process, we're deliberately doing this. Okay. This is not, bacteria. These bacteria would not normally be sucking down sugars to create the B12. They would be they would be in an animal's stomach digesting vegetable matter that's rich in cobalt. No, you use facts you like to twist facts that you don't. No, man, I've sat there and no. Tropes are not facts. Okay, you can sit there. A trope is not a fact. You sit there and say, I've already said. So far, everything I said is true. These are facts. If you don't like them, then you don't like facts. There you go. Anyway, sitting here saying this right here, and I've had this discussion with you, Race, about using a PSA as if it's a commandment, so to speak, as if it means that this is how it should be, as opposed to how something is. This is half of the statement. This is one side of the coin. Let's see what they say. At the organization, same organization. Like I said, they changed the name. I don't know why, but they just did. Okay. Eating right isn't complicated. What did they say? Oh, look. A diet with low fat or fat-free milk and milk products include lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs. How not very vegan of them. Like I said, there's two sides to this. This organization says that you can obviously live a perfectly healthy, happy life eating meat and eggs and milk. And you can live a perfectly happy life being a vegan and having to supplement everything into your diet. Or supplement the things that you can't get from meat in your diet. $450 drugs are given to livestock. What drugs? And are all 450 drugs given to every animal? Dude, you're an anecdote. I could sit there and say the same thing. I'm living proof that you don't need any of those supplements. I don't take supplements. I don't buy my meats from the grocery store. I don't sit there and take all these things. I am a perfectly happy, healthy meat eater. You want to go story for story, you're going to find that you want to use that the whole like, oh, I'm a vegan and I'm perfectly healthy. There are obviously perfectly healthy meat eaters out there, and in larger, greater quantity. So what does that prove? Does that mean because there's more of us than you, that proves that I'm right and you're wrong? No. It proves that right now, you're a vegan. You may stay a vegan your whole life. You may not. Your health may deteriorate. And that is another thing. Man, if veganism was just the end-all, be-all, perfect way of living, why would ex-vegans exist? Why would they exist in 3 times more than vegans exist now? Why? Yes, you are. You said it already above. You already said it, man. Where is that comment? I mean, you went straight for it too, so. There you go. There are many animal eaters who are B12 deficient. Are you saying they aren't allowed to use supplements? I don't understand that, but okay. I mean, if you want to use supplements, then by all means, go ahead. So here's the thing. In my diet, I don't need supplements because I get what you would get from supplements through my actual diet. So the whole that puts one nail into the needless and unnecessary argument, by the way. So if I can achieve all of what I need, and that's the whole thing. That's what's on it. Man, people who eat meat are not eating this shit in these massive quantities that you seem to believe they are. You know, I didn't say that they're wrong. What is that? I didn't say that the ex-vegans are wrong. I don't know where you get that from. I'm saying, why are there? And if you're saying is because it has a low success rate, because it's the diet, okay, that doesn't dismiss the moral of vegans, does it? Morality seems to go out the window when health comes into play. And don't pretend like it doesn't. Okay. To sit there and veer from a standard American diet, yeah, it can be kind of hard. But any deviation, I mean, and you've shown me already, I've had this argument with the whole PSA. You showed me a PSA from, what was it, from Canada? Well, they advocate for the Mediterranean diet as well. That's rich in fish and lamb and all these other things, alternatives to like cattle and whatnot. You know, moving away from cow and pig and going into more leaner meats. They advocate for the Mediterranean diet. That's not a vegan diet. So where do you go from there, man? They're trying to point you in a direction that gets you away from animals that are inoculated with antibiotics and things like that. They're in the same thing, you know, emphasizing chicken and you know, fowl and whatnot, because there are a lot of companies that do not put antibiotics, you know, sit there and do that. They may give the animals B12 in their feed, they may not. It's a little more iffier when it comes to poultry. And yeah, I know the conditions for the poultry industry are abysmal. There aren't the same right. Poultry don't get the same rights as like cattle, you know, pigs, sheep, and whatnot. So yeah, I understand that the practice in which they're killing these animals is that for chickens and whatnot is it's not ideal. I mean, if there were a way to do it like they could do for the mammals, then, you know, if there are more restrictions in that way, then, you know, whatever. But as far as all the other, you know, the health tropes, man, you can obviously live your entire life without ever being a vegan. You can live, and you have statistically a less likelihood of living your entire life as a vegan. Do you even know what that means? When you say needless and unnecessary, do you even understand what the implications is? All right, check it out. I can counter that pretty easily. I do not need supplements. I do not need, it is unnecessary for me to be vegan to be healthy. It is unnecessary. You want to sit there and play the game. If you sit there and say, well, it's needless, you can choose to be a vegan. I can choose not to be a vegan because the vegan choice is needless. It's unnecessary. I don't have to. And then that goes from the health argument to the moral argument. And I've already stated this. What? Haven't lied, not crying, dude. So I'm gonna tell you right now, what's the difference between you sitting there bitching about me freaking? No, I don't. No, I don't. I do not eat animals with supplements. I have already stated this. Yes, some vegans may not take supplements. They will reap the consequences for that. There's a reason why you need these things and why you need them from certain sources. If you're just not getting them from either supplementation or from the source where you get it, you're going into the moral argument again. This is not about the moral argument. Oh, and by the way, saying it doesn't kill more sentient beings doesn't mean shit because you still kill sentient beings. And if you're going to go into the less harm bullshit, no, not really. In all honesty, I don't dine out. I mean, it's expensive. In all honesty, you know, why sit there and pay fucking $20 for a steak and potatoes when I can just go and get potatoes for, you know, $3 a bag and get, you know, go to my local butcher who gets their meat from local farms. No. The recommended supplements for me eating, Jesus. Dude, I've already said this. Okay. What supplements, you know, if you sit there and say, oh, well, they're not getting enough supplements through eating meat. Maybe it's because they're not eating enough meat. You really want to go there, dude. Or maybe that the B12 that's given to the animals may not be sufficient. You know, and why are they given B12 in the first place? Because and it depends on when they're getting the stuff. Okay. If the animal is primarily grass fed and then, you know, like pasture raising, dude, you're appealing. Do you understand what the no. An appeal to futility. One, they're appeal to futility. I'm not saying don't do nothing about it. I'm saying I don't have to do nothing about it. That's the difference. technically this whole argument or this whole layout is basically showing that. What do you think would be no, yeah, no, it's not an appeal to futility either way you look at it. In some countries, over 50. Okay. Again, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Waiting. Nothing. Okay. If you're eating an animal product that is, if it's insufficient with B12 because of the way in which these animals are fed prior to slaughter. Now, if you get your meat from, say, like local farms, like I do, local ranchers, they don't supplement these animals' diets. I live in a climate that where grass is year round, all that kind of jazz. So, and even if they have to supplement, it's not a primary mode of food for them. These animals are fed like spent grains. I'm kind of choosy when it comes to where I get my food from. I am that processed grass fed is still class. What? One, red meat is not a class 1 carcinogen. Red meat does not cause cancer. Do I have to show you that again? The World Health Organization said point blank period, does not cause cancer. There is not enough evidence. There's not enough. If they have enough evidence, they will change it. Do you understand that? Do you get that? So sitting there saying that they say it's a class, does not cause cancer. You can look it up your damn self, motherfucker. World Health Organization Q&A on meat says it right the fuck there. So I didn't even say I even ate processed meat. And by the way, if I'm eating, okay, all right, here's the trick. No, you didn't. Right here, motherfucker. Processed grass-fed meats. Okay, maybe you did. My bad. That's my bad. I read grass-fed. My bad. Now, okay, say for instance, if I make sausage at home, red meat does not cause cancer. Probable does not equal does. And they don't say probable. They say there's insufficient evidence to sit there and make that claim. You understand that, right? You understand the difference between probable and not enough evidence. Right the fuck here. And yes, it says if the reported associations were proven to be causal, then they're saying that it could be reasonable. That is not them saying it says right there. Not a cause for cancer. So as soon as they sit there and say that it causes cancer, okay, we'll step it up. We'll see what the probability is then. Okay? And that's the whole thing. You are not 100%. There's a difference between, do you even know what that means? Obviously, apparently you don't understand what that means. Where is that one? Okay. Limited evidence means that a positive association had been observed between to the agent cancer, but that other explanations for the observations, technically termed chance, bias, or confounding, could not be ruled out. So, limited. You're the one who you and a lot of other vegans love to sit there and point out to the World Health Organization. You just do. So, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and you want okay. What other art is there? Cancer, atherosclerosis, right? It's store environmental toxins. Okay. Not all. That's the best way I can put it. You know, the whole mercury in fish. I understand where you're going from that. You know. Nope. Exactly how atherosclerosis begins and what causes isn't known. So I'm not the denier. The medical community is then. I don't eat trans fat. Trans fat, by the way, oh, saturated fats. Okay. All right, keep going. By the way, trans fats, what does occur naturally in animals is it's literally so small it's retarded. You know what a trans fat is when you walk into the store? Crisco, vegetable shortening. It depends on, and that's the whole thing. When it comes to like the mercury content and things like microplastics. By the way, plastic is an inert material. You can technically eat plastic, shit plastic, and it doesn't do anything to you. I mean, in essence, it would have to be small enough to pass through the cell walls of the abdominal cavity to be an issue. And even then, you could eat all kinds of shit that would have it. But plastics are an inert material. I'm gonna tell you right now, there are vegan tattoo inks. Arsenic in most diets. No, I mean I would have to sit there and see that one. But again, where are you getting the fish from? What country are you talking about? Is it farmed? Is it not farmed? Is it wild caught? Where was it in the waters? Was it deep in the ocean? Was it next to the shores? You see where we're going here? The source of the seafood matters. And it depends on the type of seafood. You say seafood, are you talking in nature? Yes, animals in an infinitesimal amount. Okay. And where are you going with that? The largest source of trans fats are a vegan food. Crisco is vegan. Where do you go from there, dude? I'm listening. Waiting for it. Come on, man. Most readily available source. Shortening, vegetable shortening. When you go to McDonald's and you get fucking fries are fucking vegan. It's fried in fucking trans fat. What do you there you go. Dude, I'm not saying you're making shit up. I understand that yes, you could but you're sitting here, you're going after, well, this. There are other mitigating circumstances. You're finding that yes, in some seafood you will have problems. No shit, I don't use Crisco. I think it's disgusting. But I'm like, okay, so what do you use? Do you believe coconut oil is a better alternative? Just out of curiosity, do you believe coconut oil is a better alternative to Crisco? Because, I got coconut in the cabinet. Yes. I can tell right now McDonald's doesn't use any animal fats in their fries, or when they fry things. They don't use any animal fats. Like for fries, they only use that oil for fries. They have a completely separate fryer for meats. So, unless you're talking about different countries, I can only say what everywhere I've been, they use. Okay. All right. So you use coconut oil, right? Here, I'll be right back. If you have a container of it, I want you to read the informational label. Give me a quick second. I'll grab mine. All right, dude. Okay, I got it right here. All right, even this is for a tablespoon, right? For coconut oil. It's got 14 grams of fat. 13 are saturated. And then they have the 1 gram of monosaturated fats. No polyunsaturated, no trans fats, right? But basically, when you're using coconut oil, you would almost literally, real vegans are into the ethics, not the health, dude. I'm okay. That's the point. This portion of the videos that I'm doing, these live streams, are on the different kinds of vegans. And real vegan, no true Scotsman. You're not going to sit there and say that people who are vegan because of health reasons, they're not real vegans. I'm sorry, dude. You're not gonna come at me with that shit. Okay. Now, are you saying that coconut oil is a junk food, even though it's almost 100% saturated fat? I'm just curious. You know it's saturated fat. You just sat there and complained that meat's got saturated fat. And you say that's a bad thing. All right. I've got a box of lard. Where is that? There he goes. No. The numbers don't bear out, man. You don't have the numbers. You don't have evidence that proves what you're saying. Yes, they can. Don't get me wrong. There are vegans who are vegan for health because they believe it's a healthier alternative. That they could give two shits about whether or not it hurts the animals. Just saying. You can look up vegan demographics and figure that out. It's not complicated. All right. I've got a box of lard right here. Tablespoon. 13 grams of total fat. Saturated fat, 6 grams. No trans fats. Polyunsaturated 1.5 grams, monounsaturated 5 grams. So lard, in essence, is healthier than coconut oil when it comes to the difference between fats from concentrated oils and fats from whole foods. Okay, I'll tell you what, man. I'll issue you an easy challenge. All right? Go whole food. Okay? Whole food. No processed foods whatsoever. No bread. No oils. No. Everything, you have to get 100% of your diet from what you eat. You know, in its natural state. Go ahead. So I don't see vegans. I don't see a lot of vegans. I mean, you can sit there and look up, vegan food, or you can go on pages of vegans that are just yay. Okay. If I'm eating whole food animal and getting my fat that way, and then the rest of, here's the whole thing. You can understand that there's a reason why it's beneficial for us to be omnivore, right? That if you're eating meat and it has the probability, you can just eat a perfect vegan code by. What does that have to do with anything? What? Where did leather jacket? Am I not seeing a message or something? Where do you go with the leather jacket? There's a difference between the vegan diet and the vegan philosophy. We both know this. Is one interconnected with the other? Yeah, sure, you can. Then what do you call, then what do you call a diet that is devoid of animal products? The diet, not the lifestyle, the diet. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? I don't have the best mic. But my question still stands. What do you call a diet that contains no animal products whatsoever? But the person has a lifestyle that includes animal products, like I said, like the leather and whatnot. See, I don't particularly appreciate sport hunting. To me, that's needless. In all honesty, if you're just killing the animal just to get a trophy, or for the animal as a trophy. Okay, all right. Okay, here's a question though. Okay, I call it the egg conundrum. All right, you were morally opposed to eating chickens, right? Dietary vegan, if you're still saying that they're vegan, which I'm covering dietary vegans right now. And you could sit there and say that moral vegans and environmental vegans, they can all, it's still technically false. Okay, I guess. I mean, how you guys label yourselves, whatever. But I'm just, it's probably my internet connection. Give me a quick second. I see. hotkeys for this. I have no idea. To me, this stuff is kind of still new, so I'm still working the bugs out. It could be just my computer. Let me shut down some stuff. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not saying they're vegans. They're vegans. They just take things. Yeah, I get it. Again, you know, I understand the distinction which you're trying to make. The difference between somebody who is not a moral vegan, they just a dietary vegan. Again, I said that there are vegans like that exist there. I mean, for lack of a better term, they would be for a shortcut, you just call them vegans. They're in the minority. Like I say, they're the majority. Yes, the majority of vegans are vegans for ethical reasons. Again, not covering the ethical vegan portion of this. Oh god, yeah, no, dude. That's cute though. Anyway, as it stands, this is pretty much I've pretty much said particularly all I gotta say as far as the particular tropes between the heart disease and cancer, the two biggest, as you put it, the healthy and the dietary vegan argument. You know, we've got no proof that cholesterol causes heart disease. It's speculation. It's not 100%. We've got no. They've already said. I mean, if they want to sit there and say process means, it's probably something in the process means on like an industrial scale, I guess you can put it. You know, if I make sausage at home and I'm not putting in all the chemicals that are used in preservatives, then I'm basically just eating ground meat. You know. There, I mean, I make a lot of sausage, so I mean, it's just ground meat. Well, I don't eat ground meat. So I don't eat God. Anyway, but as far as if where was going? I fucking just lost it. Brain fart. Anyway, but yeah. So atherosclerosis is not a compelling reason to go vegan. People dying of heart disease still not a compelling reason because it's 0.2% of the population died of heart-related diseases, and then even half of those heart-related diseases had nothing to do with diet, or inevitably had nothing to do with diet. So I'm just basically getting rid of those particular, I'm defanging that part of the argument, basically getting it off the table. It's no longer a part. It can't be an argument if it. Also, I don't like it. Speculation. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I don't like it or not. I'm not the one who's doing the speculating. Also, like it's fine. No, dude. I've already said this. I have no problem with this right here. It's speculation. They don't know. You haven't proven, because you can't prove it if they can't prove it. I'm sorry, you just can't do that. You can't sit there and say there's proof when they say that there is none. That's the difference. You're saying there's proof. I'm showing you that that's not what they're saying. Okay, same thing, World Health Organization. Again, that you may have a risk, and that's the whole thing, is with the risk factor. What is the risk factor of anybody getting colorectal cancer? You know, for men, it's about 11%. For women, it's about 10.1%. Or some shit like that. The actual probability. And then you flesh out how many people actually do get it. And it turns out that it's not nearly. You start taking out mitigating circumstances like smoking and alcohol use, it becomes even less. You know. And I've heard vegans sit there and say that they're less likely. The risk for them is lower. Sometimes they'll say it's 25%. I've heard 16 to 25%. Okay. What does 16 to 25% lower mean? It actually comes down to only like maybe at most, it's about 2 percentage points. You know, so I mean, shit. That's not a lot, man. All right. Dude, you moving to insults don't mean shit. It just means that you have enough. You don't have an argument here. You're bitching about stuff that I'm showing you. Unbiased shit. This is not biased, man. Not biased. World Health Organization. You guys use this position. This right here. Those same guys. I'm using those. Or I sit there and said, this is information, man. You don't like the information, don't blame me. I'm sorry. You don't like the fact that whatever you say, dude. It's all I'm a turn now, dude. I have enjoyed some of our I'm just telling you, right, stop recycling the same shit. You know, like you've already done the whole helmet thing before. It's fun, you know. Hey, but so far, dude, you know I'm not lying. You know I'm not sending you false information. You know I'm not taking the information and the tropes, and all I'm doing is laying them out and showing that they're not. Most you should see it, dude. Anyway, as it stands, I've already fucking gone at this for quite a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Thanks, Race, for coming on. Being a part of at least the chat. Always interesting. Don't forget, go fuck yourself. Anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. If you stayed this long watching this, kudos for you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching me. Thanks for listening to me. And if you watch this after the fact, hey, if you have any, if any vegans, once this is over with, want to sit there and put out information that somehow dismisses everything I've just shown you, go ahead. But keep morals out of it. Give me science, give me data, give me things like that. For this portion, for this video, leave the morals at the door. You can discuss that shit with me on a different video. Okay? But if you have anything to refute, anything I've already shown, or anything I've said, put it in. By the way, you can check me out on Twitter. Bearded Devil. I think it's all one word on Twitter. I'll put the link in the description. You can check me out, send me a DM, whatever. And in case Mr. Kirby, Thunder Bay, if you watch this, dude, this again, not an announcement of a debate. Just wait, man. I'll go into this. And if you bring up anything I've already said, so on the health issue, you will have to disagree with all of the evidence to the contrary. And at that point, if you have any evidence to the contrary that dismisses everything that I've said, even though I've used similar sources as you will more than likely use, then what do you got? So this is why I'm taking this stuff off the table, so you can't fall back on it. Okay? But this again, not a call out for a debate. That'll come. Don't worry. Be patient. Right, anyway, guys, I've been the Beer Devil. Thanks a lot for sticking in if you've stuck around to the end. And I'll catch you guys later for the next installment. I'm going to go over the next one is environmental. And I'm going to address the vegan utopia trope. But anyway, catch you later, guys.